Hi, everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach. And I wanted to share some important things with you today in this video entitled 15 Assertive Rights as an Adult. And this is part one. I'm going to do the first 5 of the assertive rights. Then I will do 2 other videos to include the other 10 assertive rights as adults. I hope that you'll subscribe, like, comment, and join and support this channel so that I can do more free videos for you. I'd like to review the assertiveness rights for adults. They have been a big help to me in understanding what is normal for adults. Many of us growing up in dysfunctional families, many of us growing up in our family of origin, we may not have learned a good deal of the normal assertiveness rights that we have as adults, also as recovering adults. And I want to send a special shout out of thank you to the book When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel Smith. And I've made a hybrid of rights that he has and rights that I have added, trying to integrate a family systems approach. And again, this video is number 1, and it is the first 5 rights. Many of us have grown up with many non-assertive rights of codependency and the non-assertive rights of dysfunctional families. For example, some of those non-assertive rights would be always make others happy, never make anyone feel hurt, sad, anxious, or mad. Kind of always control the negative feelings of other people. And your assertiveness, if it causes them discomfort, then don't do that. Never say no unless you have a very, very good reason to say no. Another rule, always define yourself the way others see you. If it makes you feel anxious, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. That's also a non-assertive right. You should never change your mind. It only interferes with the relationships running smoothly. And you will look weak or immature, so never change your mind. Another one is don't do anything you can't justify. Also, everyone has a right to know your reasons and excuses for what you want and for your decisions. An additional one is saying, I don't know, only shows your inadequacy and your lack of knowledge. And it will end up hurting people in the long run. Another one is, if others define me, then I should accept it or argue with them to change their minds. Those are some of the non-assertive rights or dysfunctional rules that we've oftentimes lived by. There are many, many more. Let me talk about the first assertiveness right. You have the right to judge your own behavior, your own thoughts and emotions, and to take responsibility for their initiation and the consequences. Let me read that again to you. You have the right to judge your own behavior, your own thoughts, your own emotions, and to take responsibility for their initiation and consequences. I have the right not to be manipulated by other people who are judging my behavior, my thoughts, and my emotions, because I am the judge of these, not they are the judge of these. Others are not the judge of me. I am the judge. My conscience is the boss, and my values and choices and needs are mine. My conscience is the boss, and my values control my behavior, thoughts, and feelings. You have the right to be the ultimate judge of yourself, continuing on with assertiveness right 1, because this is a part of that. You have the right to be the ultimate judge of yourself versus I should be controlled and others should control me. I should control others, others should control me. We often are so shoulded and so oughted, you should and you ought, and judged by roles, rules, and what has always been. And I think that's why that's so often the basis of the judgment. Roles, rules, and what has always been. And then in many cases of narcissism and such, in that you're not doing what someone else finds best for them. Being our own judge can be a very frightening thing. And I remember when I was in seminary and thinking, gosh, what if I'm in charge of what I believe? What if I'm in charge of my own thoughts and feelings? Should I have my own thoughts and feelings? Because there's probably so many other ways that other people are right, other books are right, everybody's right but me. No, I have the right to judge my own thoughts, feelings, and actions. Our behavior, thoughts, and feelings are not responsible for someone else's happiness or someone else's feelings. If I don't want to go on that trip and many feel disappointed, I'm not responsible for their disappointment. I'm responsible for my choice. I may not wish to go. And I can judge whether that is an appropriate action or an inappropriate action, a selfish action or a non-selfish action. But if I don't want to go on that trip, I have a right to make that. If everybody in the world feels hurt by that, that's not my responsibility. And it is not healthy or moral to put the responsibility of your own happiness on someone else. If someone else, of course, doesn't want to go on the trip, you're responsible for your disappointment and your hurt or anger. That's your responsibility. It's not theirs. That's assertiveness right 1. Assertiveness right 2. You have the right to offer no reasons or excuses to justify your behavior or choices. Let me say that again. You have the right to offer no reasons or excuses to justify your behavior or choices. I remember, and in working with so many couples, helping couples have a better relationship and healing and successful relationships over my many 45 years or so working with couples, individuals. And of course, there are some who have chosen to divorce, or a spouse has chosen to divorce, and the other one doesn't wish to divorce. Well, I can't make the one spouse stay in the marriage. It's for each person to decide whether they want to stay in the marriage. Certainly, I like to see couples work through their issues in the marriage and become stronger and happier, but sometimes that just does not happen, and there have been so many things that occurred that it makes it virtually impossible. And often we get a lot of whys from others, especially when we make a choice about something in our own life. And divorce is a big choice. It's a very big choice, and it's a hard choice. And I found that hard for so many people who have made that choice. It's not easy. And of course, I don't believe divorce solves all the problems either. I think I educate and talk to both parties about the importance of just because you get a divorce doesn't mean that wipes the slate clean. There are lots of issues that brought us into this, that continued the conflict and continued the problems. And we need to work on those things, divorce or no divorce. We will often get a lot of whys, and I wanted to share with you, why do people ask whys? Why do they ask you why? They are often a means of resistance. They want to use our reasons and our excuses and our answers to change our mind. And I remember a number of couples I've worked with, and let's say it could go either way, the man or the wife, but let's say the man doesn't want the divorce and the wife does. And she's wanted a divorce for the last 15 years. She's been unhappy. Her husband has not been always a kind or caring or loving husband, and she wants to exit the marriage. And she's thought about this for a very long time. And so she's asking me, well, how do I share that with him? And I said, well, I think briefly and succinctly is probably the best. I feel like I want to tell him all the reasons. And I'm going, you're certainly free to tell him all the reasons if you want to, but you don't have to. You're making a choice to exit the marriage. You don't have to give all your reasons. And in fact, this may not even be the best time to give your reasons. Why is that? Because the husband will say, well, why do you want to divorce me? I've been working on myself. He's been working on himself for 15 years, hasn't really changed. Or he'll change for a short time and then go back to his old behavior. And the wife doesn't want to do that anymore. And so, again, I might advise, probably it's best to not give your reasons at this point. He needs to figure out why the marriage failed. You need to figure out why the marriage failed. That may not be best sorted out with the two of you because we have a dog in the race. Especially if I don't want a divorce, then I want to hear all your reasons why. Why? Because it might benefit me, because I may be able to use those to try and change your mind. Not to accept the reasons, but to use them to hopefully change your behavior, choices, and your mind about this. And so I want those why answers for my benefit, not for yours. Mom and Dad, here's an example of Mom and Dad, our family would like to spend Christmas Day at home. We'd be very happy to see you and the rest of the family any other day. I know this is a change from the past. Again, I'm acknowledging that this is a difference. I know this is a change from the past, but Bob and I have decided this is our preference for our family on Christmas Day. Mom and Dad, of course, are going to ask what? Why? But why are you choosing to do this? Do you truly have to give the reasons why? The reason is that we prefer that and to do this for the holiday. It is our preference. I don't have to give all the reasons of we want to start our own family traditions. We want to wake up in the morning and be with our kids and our family on Christmas morning. We want to spend that time enjoying ourselves, relaxing, and having our own traditions on Christmas Day rather than just grandparents' traditions. Not that family's not important or being with family, but that I don't have to give the reasons for that, because many times that will be a reason for the family to try to talk you out of that when you've already come to this decision. We don't have to give our reasons or excuses to justify our behavior or our choices. I remember even with my own brother, who I think used to sell cars. He sold cars for many years, and he sold American-made cars, which was interesting because I wanted to buy a foreign car, and he could not understand why I'd want to buy a foreign car. Later in life, he bought most all foreign cars, and I bought American cars, so cars made in America. So it all got reversed later, which was interesting. But he was not happy with that, and he wanted to know why. Well, every why I gave him was a cause or a reason for argument. And the reason was because this is what I want to do. This is my preference. I prefer it. And I don't have to give you all the reasons why. Especially if you're not truly trying to understand my reasons for me, you're trying to understand my reasons for you and for your benefit. If someone wants to truly know my reasons for me, then I can share them my reasons. But we're not in an adversarial relationship. 3, assertive right number 3. You have the right to judge whether you are responsible for finding solutions to other people's problems. Is that your responsibility or is it not? Let me give you an example where this took place. This was many years ago. I had a car accident, and clearly it was the other person's fault. The police were there. The woman happened to run through a stoplight that was clearly stopped for her. She didn't see it. I don't think she even looked up, and T-boned me in the driver's side. Her insurance company contacted me, which is fine. And I said, I will need a rental. And so would you like to arrange that to have a special deal, or you want me to just go get a rental and that'll just be part of the settlement? They told me, well, her policy does not include a rental replacement. That would not be covered. And I said, I responded, it doesn't matter to me whether it is covered or not. You can pay for it, or she can pay for it. It doesn't matter to me. Because if you don't pay for it, then I will ask her to pay for it. If she doesn't pay for it, I guess I will have to sue. Because I was the wrong party, I should be made right. But sir, she doesn't have car rental policy, a codicil on her policy. Well, again, this is not my problem. If it is not your problem, then it will be her problem. I'm sorry. This is your arrangement with her, not with me. The accident was her fault, and I lost the use of my vehicle. Again, it was not my responsibility to find a solution for this woman's responsibility. Believe it or not, the company ended up paying for the rental and taking care of that because they didn't want to see me sue her when she had insurance, I'm sure. Now, things may be different now, I don't know, but back then, that was what I was getting. They, of course, didn't want to pay for a rental if they could avoid that. But I don't care what your policy is if you hit me. And it's your fault. I don't care what your policy is. That's between you and them. I don't have to be responsible for finding solution to other people's problems. I think another way of thinking about it is, a dad comes to you and says, could you make your mom happier? She's not happy right now. And then we just fight about it. So I want you to go and make up with your mother. Well, now, wait a minute. That's between mom and I don't. Whose responsibility for the relationship am I taking over here? If I go and kowtow to mom, let's say, or give in or make nice or whatever, I'm doing that to make dad and mom's relationship work. That's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to go fix your marriage or how you guys interact. Dad, that's your problem. My problem is between mom and I. Not my problem is not how your marriage works. That's between you and her. So we want to be careful for finding solutions to other people's problems. It's enough to find solutions for our own problems. Number 4, you have the right to change your mind. That's a normal life, recovery, healthy adult right. We have a right to change our mind. Obviously, many believe if you change your mind, then something's wrong with you. And of course, you'll need to justify your new choice, right? No. You don't even have to justify your new choice. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about people. I might share with people, hey, I've decided I can't go to that ball game with you. And you bought the tickets. So I'll take responsibility for the ticket price, but I cannot go. And I'll be happy to be fair in doing that. But maybe I want to stay home just to watch TV all afternoon. I don't have to give all my reasons for that, especially if I'm going to make them whole. Now, if I bought the ticket, well, then they're not out anything other than my presence, which I don't have to justify. You are free to change your mind for 6 good reasons, or for no reasons, or for 3 bad reasons. You can change your mind. That's an adult right. Number 5, assertive right number 5. You have the right to make mistakes and be responsible for them. This is the myth. Mistakes should be viewed through the lens of adequacy and self-worth and how others should view us or judge us. No, that's not true. I get to judge my behavior, my mistakes, and my life. And you can judge me any way you want, but I have the right to judge that. And I don't believe mistakes are best judged through adequacy and self-worth lens. I have made many mistakes in my life. And I've made many poor choices in my life and made amends for them, paid for them, suffered for them. I remember one back in 1980, I filed bankruptcy due to my business immaturity and my loss of a business. Well, should you be a pastor if you file bankruptcy? Are you a bad person because you filed bankruptcy? Am I now and forever less than other people because that happened? Am I now a failure for life? No, because I get to judge my own mistakes. I get to take responsibility for my own mistakes, and I have a right to make mistakes. No, I have failed, or I have chosen unwisely about business, which resulted in financial default, which hurt others and some businesses. But it does not speak to who I am as a person. I tried to make all of them as whole as I could. But it doesn't speak to me as to who I am as a person. It speaks as to the mistakes I can make and did make. I hope you'll subscribe, join, like, and comment on this video. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Have a great day, and look out for the next 2 videos that will be assertiveness rights 6 through 10, and then 11 through 15 in the next 2 videos. Have a great day, and be wise.
Hi, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert, and I've been helping clients for 36 years using Murray Bowen Family Systems approach to helping them with life problems, career problems, relationship problems. And this video is entitled, How Do I Deal with My Family's Allergy to Reality? Or Shared Secrets and Differences. Certainly those are very difficult for us to deal with, because when there are shared secrets or things we cannot talk about or perspectives that we cannot share, the reality we have that we can't talk about in our family because the family sees it a particular way or a family member sees it in a particular way, and it would be way too much of a challenge for us to own our own reality about that. And we tend to back off, be afraid, we tend to be reactive, we don't like the anxiety it produces, they don't like the anxiety it produces, other family members, it causes frustration and difficulty within the family. But how do we self-differentiate or become authentic or mature if we see things differently than family members? How do we deal with that contrast? And is there a healthy way to deal with it is there, as I would consider, at least a successful way to deal with it? Or I can say the bottom line, is there a mature way to deal with it? Certainly there's lots of immature ways to deal with it. And I've talked with lots of couples and individuals who have taken the immature approaches, including myself, on a number of occasions throughout my life. So I know what many of those are from a first-hand experience. Coming from a very codependent background for me, not really liking me, not really thinking much of me, low self-esteem, shame issues, lack of self-differentiation, self-knowledge, lack of authenticity, let me try to be what everybody wants me to be. Having those kind of difficulties, it makes it difficult for me to own my own reality with family members and also with wider community, social community. I have done better over the last few decades, which has really helped tremendously. And also I've found most of the catastrophes that I thought it would cause by me owning my own reality never happened, or if they happened, were only temporary. And that eventually the system would come around to accept me as to who I am. This video also, I'm kind of talking about how to self-differentiate or differentiate away from the shared secrets in your family of origin. Meaning, again, we have this frame or this way of looking at it in our family. And if you disagree with that, you need to keep your mouth shut. You must not say anything about it. And it won't be accepted. There could be even negative consequences as a result of it. There was a client who had done some work with me and helping me with videos. And when I made a transition, she was kind enough to list all my videos for me and save them on YouTube because she thought they were valuable and wanted other people to watch them. And so I asked her, I said, well, how can I tell you thank you? Can I do a video for you? She gave me a topic, and this is the topic, and I wanted to share that with her. And I said I'd do a video on about any topic you'd ask, as long as I knew something about the topic. Fortunately, I knew something about the topic. In asking me to do this, we take a look at what do you do when you no longer have alliances to keep secrets. In other words, you don't want to keep that alliance with the family, to keep certain secrets or keep a certain frame about the way things were. Everybody knew that Uncle so-and-so molested the sister. Everybody knows that, but we all act like and have the frame or the perspective that it never happened. And we don't talk about it, and that it's resolved, or it just never happened in the first place. But yet everybody knows it did, the whole family, but we have a shared secret. And we all share this silence and all share this perspective that, oh, I think the sister was just histrionic at that time and was just making it up. Uncle Fred never really did do that. When you know from the sister that it happened, you know that it may have even happened to you, but you haven't shared that part of it. So you know Fred's certainly one who was inappropriate and what he did was wrong. How do we navigate becoming the skirt lifter? Because we're lifting the skirt or secret revealer in our family of origin. And when you're a skirt lifter for the family, that can be a pretty tough place to be in. And I think there are ways to prepare for that. There are ways to practice for that. There are ways to survive that. If you're going to be a skirt lifter, secret revealer, or to own your own reality up against your family's reality. As you can well imagine, the concept of shared secret is an oxymoron. It's a contradictory in terms. How can you have a secret that's shared? But actually, most secrets in the family are known by everyone. It's just cannot be discussed, talked. It's an undiscussable. And in business can be the same way. Businesses and executives and church organizations, companies have shared secrets that everybody knows, but we can't talk about it. They are undiscussable. And that's what keeps businesses from being profitable, from being healthy, churches from being profitable, healthy, effective, and then certainly families who are dysfunctional as a result of it. I find clients become more self-aware and more self-differentiated and more mature when they start to become more mature, start to become more self-aware. Then they start to ask, when and how do I share my perspective, or not continue to lie about the secret or make the undiscussable discussable with the family and its narrative and what they think's going on, and how do I share what is undiscussable with my family? How do I share what I believe to be true without ripping the skirt all the way off the person rather than just lifting it up a bit? And let me share with you some of the secrets and some of the different perspectives that families members can have. These are just a dozen of them or so, but there are dozens and dozens and hundreds of secrets and hundreds of perspectives that families have that may not agree with us and how they see it, and events that occurred that they have a different take on it, or even a wrong take, dysfunctional take on it. So here's some of those issues of family denial. Mom's narcissism, dad's alcoholism, brother's abuse, family rage, and these are the undiscussables. We can't talk about any of these. Family's disrespect for boundaries, mom standing by dad when he was physically abusive, the way my parents treat my spouse might be another thing we can't talk about, and I'll have an example of that in just a moment. The reality that my sister was mean to my kids and my wife, my brother's crazy reality about him and how I and my spouse hate him and I've never loved him, mother never calling, never reaching out, never asking about my life, and favors other siblings with money, gifts, time, inheritance, but feels and believes and tells everyone that she deeply loves me and we're loved equally like all the rest of the kids. And I don't know how many times I've worked with couples and with individuals whose parents have, say, 3 kids. 2 of the kids get the inheritance, 1 kid doesn't. Because they go, well, they're struggling and they're not as successful as you are, so we're going to leave all the money to them and not to you. And they don't realize how that's a continuation of their bad parenting, their dysfunctional parenting. Now, it's their money. They can do whatever they want with it. That's clearly, whenever anybody says, hey, they can be as dysfunctional with their money as they want to. And we have to come to accept that. But it doesn't mean we think it's mature and right or just. Because it just continues their enabling of the under-functioning siblings, and then you are left out, and they say, but we all love you equally. Well, it just doesn't relate across the board. It would be another thing if parents would say, well, we're going to give it all to you equally, and then the parents come to you and say, hey, your brother and sister are really, really struggling. We know you're doing well. How do you feel about us maybe working out your third in some way? That's at least a fair, reasonable way to kind of maturely come at this. But it's their money. I understand. They can do whatever they want. We have to accept that. But nobody can talk about how, the other siblings will say, well, I'm just so glad we all got equal parts, in the inheritance. When you know good and well you didn't. But you can't say you didn't, because that's a family secret and that's not supposed to be talked about. Dads, I often find clients have, before they have come to see me, struggled with the guilt and shame of seeing things differently than their family of origin, or keeping secrets that they hate keeping. They have made failed attempts to break the secret bonding with the family. They have also dropped the bomb on families at inopportune times, meaning they've gotten so reactive or so upset they'll just blurt out a secret or some negative thing to everyone because they're just so frustrated. They have become the outcast and scapegoats of the family because of threatening the family with revealing or trying to reveal secrets. And of course, that can be very costly for them and has been over the years. I don't think they were able to have at their access and have the awareness of systems and how they work, so that they can surgically and be able to more navigate this map of family of origin dynamics, so they might be able to grow themselves up within the family without blowing it all the way up. It can be very difficult, and families can be very frustrating and very difficult to work with. They've also tried to be authentic with their family while not understanding how the family functions. They do not anticipate others' reactions. They did not know where they are in processing the secret themselves. Because if we still have the secret and we have all kinds of reactive feelings about it, that's probably not the best way to share the secret. When I'm in the middle of processing my own feelings about it, I can be conflicted, I can be angry, I can be hurt, I can have all those things. That's not the way to reveal family secrets or your own perspective if you're trying to help change yourself within the family. Because oftentimes if you have those conflicted feelings, you will make attempts to change the family, and they'll feel it and sense it within the emotional field, or within the vibes, as you say. They will feel it and know that, and then cannot accept your view of reality, and they'll have to reject you too. And also, if I'm trying to share my own perspective or my own view of the secret, or the secret itself, because I don't want to just carry it and deny it all my life, if I haven't resolved those feelings about it, I'm going to be very reactive. And that will also create reactivity within the family as well. The good thing about family systems is that if you can be calm, others can tend to be and will tend to be calmer. If you are reactive, others will tend to be reactive and more reacting in a highly charged way. So how you come at it is very important. Not from a codependent standpoint, but from an authentic, mature, self-differentiated standpoint. Well, what do I do about breaking the shared secret bond we have with our family? What do we do to share our authentic experience and reality with our family? Resolve the secret for yourself first. Deal with your own triggers, shame, your own guilt, your own anger, your own hurt, your own frustration, your own resentments. Deal with those first before you start to share all that within the family, or try to get them to be accepting of your reality. First, you must be authentic and not reactive. That's the first step. Never share your perspective or awareness or speak openly about a secret with the intent of changing your family. They will pick up on this, as I have said. They're very finely tuned and finely tuned to that, just like a piano. They know when someone's sharing it to either shame or hurt them. We want to come as neutral as possible about these secrets and about my own perspective. Plan and anticipate the moves and resistance of your family. Don't just plan for, well, it's all going to go well, or I don't care how they react. Then we're not strategic enough. Going, well, I shouldn't worry about what they think. I'm just going to say whatever I want to think. Well, that's not very strategic. It's not. You don't understand the lay of the land, and so you're most likely to trip over things, to get reactive in ways you didn't anticipate, and then it becomes more of a problem. Be prepared for the fallout, and remember, fallout is often temporary. Fortify your inner self, such as watching. I have a video entitled Building Up Your Ability to Go Without Love or Approval, and you can find that on Jerry Wise Relationship Systems channel on YouTube. Remember, talking about secrets or a different way of seeing things from the way your family of origin sees things will trigger shame and guilt in dysfunctional families, and it will trigger that within them. and in you if you don't deal with that first. We know we may be triggering their shame or guilt, but we can also manage that, handle that, let them just feel whatever they're going to feel, but also know, you don't have to be threatened by me. You may feel shamed, but I'm not here to threaten you. I just don't want to keep this secret anymore. And so I want to share that. And I'm going to share what I believe to be true, but it's not for the purpose of shaming and guilting everybody in the family. Often I say begin on the edges. Don't start with the family high holiday or Thanksgiving or Christmas or other religious holiday celebration dinners or when families getting together. Don't start there. Begin individually or one-on-one and not confront the family as a whole. I think I've seen people do that before too, or they'll share with their mother some secret they've always, or some different perspective they've already seen. Mom, I've always thought you were wrong about not calling the police when Uncle Bob molested me. Don't do that right before a Thanksgiving meal, right while Mom's cooking and trying to do everything. It's unwise and not strategic. There are other ways to do that. If you want her to be a total mess, then do it then. If you want, but then we're wanting to punish and we're wanting to, and then there's other motives involved, and that's what we want to get away from. We want to get away from those other motives, which means unresolved feelings in me. Begin less direct, less confrontational or aggressive. Start to show your cards like using phrases like, I don't really see it that way. I had a different experience than you. I think it was much more complicated than that. It seems like there are some missing facts. You know the family had good points, but we had plenty of problems too. Then as people begin to question you, you have an opening to share how you saw or see it, and you can expand on those statements. All of these statements that I just mentioned are self-differentiating, while not shattering the front door. It's like going in the back door. Also, I may not need to confront somebody about the secret. When Mom shares, well, that vicious lie about Uncle Bob and him molesting someone, that was all just baloney. Well, Mom, I see that differently. I think it was more complicated than that. I would not agree with that description. I don't have to share with her exactly what my perspective is. I can just say, I am different. And she probably already knows that. She probably already knows there are some family members that don't hold to that truth. I'm just saying, I don't. But I'm not needing to make a big point of it. Let me tell you exactly what I believe what happened. There again, I'm back to trying to change Mom, change the family, change the childhood. You're wasting your time. But self-differentiating, saying, well, that's not how I saw it, or that's not what I believe, we can leave it at that, and I'm self-differentiating. And it generally tends to be more tolerable, rather than I'm just going to blow you out of the water. Focus on practicing, affirming, and building self-confidence of your reality and your truth about your family. When you share secrets from a place of neutrality, not reactivity, be matter of fact, not over serious. Work on staying calm. If I'm worked up, the system will get worked up in response and in reactivity, as I've shared before. Allow your family to distance from you and to feel threatened by you while they absorb the new you. Give them some breathing space, that it's okay that this is the new you, and they may feel touchy about that. Let them, let them distance. Let them feel threatened or feel shamed or guilt for a little while, and stay calm, stay neutral. Hey, I'm still here, and everything's going to be fine. However, and I do like the biblical passage of Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. And that's really what I'm talking about the whole thing, and that's what family systems teaching is, speaking the truth. You want to speak your truth in love. You don't have to speak it in reactivity. because that's going to only hurt you and them too. When sharing family secrets or breaking the rule of shared secrets, Dr. Ronald Cohen says, balance caution with candor. He is a Bowen family systems expert as well, and I would advise you reading his article on secrets online, and you can look under his name, and I think you'll find information on that. I also believe it's more helpful to start sharing your truth and your reality in context. For example, Jerry, aren't you glad you had a wonderful childhood? Well, yes, and I would respond, in many ways it was, but Dad's alcoholism and abuse was a big part of my childhood too. Your dad was not an alcoholic, and you shouldn't talk about your dead father that way. That is just disrespectful, and I know your dad loved you, is what you would many times get. Well, Mom, it's not disrespectful to him or anyone that I admit he was an alcoholic and was abusive at times. And that was a part of my childhood as well. I realize you don't agree, or I realize you see it differently. That's okay, Mom. We can agree. We can disagree. I understand. When we let the cat out of the bag, or when we start to share ourselves as an authentic self and our authentic reality with no secrets and no, they can't know how I really feel, be confident, kind, neutral, self-affirming, and allow others to maintain their denial if they choose. Don't give your power away. Keep your power for yourself. Hold on to your reality and how you see it and saw it. No longer will denial be your way of seeing things. You will experience less guilt and less shame. A good book to read is Family Secrets, The Path to Self-Acceptance and Reunion by John Bradshaw. That's another good work for secrets. We must hold to the belief revealing a toxic or self-denying secret is not a betrayal or disloyalty or purposefully hurtful. That's what often families will send as a message as to why you shouldn't share those secrets. Believe instead, I love myself and my family enough not to keep this secret or their way of seeing things, that it's healthier for me and maybe for them in the long run, who knows, but at least for me to not see it the way they see things. Breaking family secrets does not cause illness, death, or magically cause bad things to happen to family members. Well, if you reveal that secret, Mom will have a heart attack. If you reveal that secret, all kinds of bad things will happen to our whole family. Those are myths. Often, 99% of the time, not true. Very rare that anything like that would happen. Resist the family rule. Don't tell anyone our business. Revealing issues does not shame the family in the broader community. It may trigger the family's inner shame, but that shame has been there probably for generations. The broader community doesn't give a hoot about your family and doesn't give a hoot about you. They've got their own family, their own lives they have to live. We often have a grandiosity where we think everybody's worrying about us. Nobody's worrying about you. They're living their own life any more than you worry about everybody in your neighborhood. You probably don't. You don't worry about everybody in your neighborhood's family. You've got to get on with your life. Breaking family rules is a large part of growing up and maturing and becoming more self-differentiated. We are not breaking family rules with any malice. And what we need to do is rehearse. With trusted others or a coach or a therapist you can feel confident in to help you practice what you're going to say and practice your responses. Don't reveal family secrets during a notable event, as I've mentioned, like a holiday, weddings, funerals, anniversaries. This will derail the secret revealing and attach it to an anniversary. share your truths or your reality during a normal course of interaction with the family of origin. So what do we do when family members deny our reality? What responses can we give to them? And when they deny our own awareness? Here are some statements of reality that are reality-denying statements from a mother to an adult son. They had had a confrontation, and actually a physical confrontation with with his mother, and his mother was inappropriate, and she's denying that any of that happened. Son, your skewed, exaggerated version of events is disturbing, to say the least. Whenever we share our reality, oftentimes there's resistance from the more denying or dysfunctional family members, and then we can respond at different levels depending upon how open we want to be and how much information we want to share. All of these levels are self-differentiation. They're just at different levels. One would be, well, Mom, I see it differently from you. And just respond simply, I see it differently. Level 2 would be maybe wanting to share more or feeling more confident in yourself or in your interaction with his mother. My version of events is the one I remember and experienced. I'm sure it's difficult to have me share my experience of them. And then number 3, maybe a more intense or a deeper sharing of, well, my view of things, Mom, has been disturbing for you and for the family for years. But I'm finally not going to change. We will have to agree to disagree. And another response that his mother made was, I'm deeply saddened and heartbroken by what you see as reality, which, by the way, did not happen and I didn't do. I did not yell, as you said. I didn't threaten you in front of the kids, as you said. He can respond, I'm sorry, we do not share the same facts. We will just have to agree to disagree. I don't think you would appreciate me trying to convince you about what happened. Well, if you're honest with yourself, Mom says, you will see my version of what happened is really what happened. My honesty is what brings me to my version of events, Mom. Even if I had done those things, which I didn't, I could understand why I might, because you had shunned me for months. Shunning you for months is no excuse for abuse, rejection, or even violence. Hopefully someday we can talk about what truly happened. Please don't accuse me of X and Y and Z. That's all just rubbish. Well, you may feel my version of what happened was rubbish, or is rubbish, but it doesn't change what happened. Or I think we'll just have to agree to disagree. Obviously, I love you and have always loved you, and I would never do what you have said I did. I do not share the same view of love as you, Mom. You may in fact love me, but that doesn't change what happened. You never lived in my shoes or knew what I went through. I will never be able to live in anyone else's shoes, Mom, only my own. You may have gone through a lot with Dad, who is abusive to you and to us kids, but this does not justify your behavior 2 months ago. Son, I don't know why a prayer card I sent to you is so offensive to you. The card was, Mom, the card was only filled with religious words. I would prefer a relationship with you and not your faith. You are free to have your faith, but I have asked you not to send cards and letters with only religious content. I'm sure you would not appreciate me sending you a Muslim content card or a Buddhist content card or an atheist content card only, and just signing love your son. I'm sure, Mom, you wouldn't appreciate that. Life is too short, and I needed to say these things before I die or become demented. I will always love you, and I forgive you for all the pain you've caused me, Mom says. I hope you feel better sharing these things. I disagree with many of the things you have shared. I see things quite differently than you do. You may experience pain and probably have for many years. I do not believe I'm the creator, the author, or cause of that pain, Mom. Another example in which there can be things happening that are not to be talked about. Mom would hold up the meal until all of her kids were there, except she does not do that for my husband, Mom says, I've never treated your husband disrespectfully. I was just busy and felt we needed to eat. When actually at every dinner she doesn't wait on Janet's husband, but she'll wait on all the other siblings' husbands before they start eating, but not Janet's. Mom, that is not how I see it. You would never do that for any of the kids in the family or their spouses. Don't ever do that again regarding my husband. Or you may not have noticed that your behavior changes when it involves John, my husband, Janet says, and the family meals. But I noticed I'm not happy. But I noticed and I am not happy. You may have been busy. You may have felt we needed to eat. However, I request that you treat all spouses equally. Well, I didn't know it was so important to you or that you would be so touchy about it. My husband is important to me, and I do not feel touchy. I believe what happened was out of the ordinary for our family, and yes, it does bother me. I would ask for family meals. We then choose not to wait on anyone's spouse to eat, or we'll wait on everyone's spouse to eat. This is not about me feeling ouchy about it. It's only about fairness and respect. I hope I can count on your support, Mom. I've given you some examples and responses. I work with people all the time to practice their responses and practice self-differentiation in real life situations. If you need help learning how to share your truth and your reality with your family, if you want help in breaking the shared secrets, and those shared secrets you've had for many years with them, please contact me. You can contact me at 317-919-6264 in the U.S. or at my email address, jerrywise5@gmail.com. I hope you'll check out my new website, jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com. And I hope you'll join my YouTube channel and subscribe so that whenever I do a new video, you'll be for sure notified. I appreciate you watching today, and have a great day. It's talk that's trying to get you to behave in a way so I don't have to deal with my immaturity as a narcissistic parent. I don't have to deal with that if I can get you to change. So what that they feel that way? Okay, they felt that way for 20 years, and they're still that way because they're still that way. They're narcissistic parents. To break free, start the work of self-differentiation. And that self-differentiation is, I am different from you. Remember, they changed your diapers. So therefore, they should get to know what your raise is when you're 45 years old from your work and what raise you got because they changed your diaper when you were an infant. Are you tired of feeling controlled by your narcissistic parents? In this video, I want to share 10 practical steps to flip the power dynamics with narcissistic parents and reclaim your emotional independence. I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people get their narcissistic and dysfunctional family out of them so they can finally reclaim their true self and find clarity, peace, and lasting freedom. Number 1, stop pleasing your narcissistic parents. Certainly, if you're in a situation where you are dependent on them, financially, housing-wise, then it's very unwise to maybe challenge them outright. And I would get help for yourself if you're in that situation. If you have more autonomy, meaning you're an adult living somewhere else or have your own family and still have narcissistic parents as an adult, growing up in a narcissistic family You were conditioned to please your parents. Your sense of worth was borrowed from their approval, creating an emotional and mental pseudo-self, a version of you that existed only to serve their needs, not your own needs. As an adult, the habit of people-pleasing continues, often leaving you disconnected from your real self. And to break this pattern, you need to stop seeking validation from others, validation from your parent, and start choosing what is right for you. I know I've had situations in which very powerful female or male executives of big companies, where they make all of the decisions, they go home and fall into a child role with their parents, and particularly narcissistic parents. They lose all of that professionalism. They lose all of that adulthood that they have when they're sitting at the head of the boardroom table, and they become children when they go home. So that's that family Wi-Fi and super self that I talk so much about happening for us as adults. This is how you start to declare yourself, calmly stating who you really are, even when others don't approve. And I think calmly is very important. I think matter-of-factly is very important, even when others don't approve. We're not stating who we are to start an argument, though it could start an argument, but I'm not going to engage in the argument. I'm going to try to stay calm and matter-of-fact. Number 2, break free from narcissistic parents' emotional manipulation. Make emotional manipulation more difficult for the narcissistic parent by focusing on detachment and cutting the emotional umbilical cord, because we have that emotional umbilical cord that's still connected to our parents and that family super self. Narcissistic parents often control, gaslight, and manipulate you, making you doubt your perceptions and feelings. They turn your emotional reality upside down, causing you to question your own thoughts, creating the version of you your parents needed you to be, not who you truly are. These manipulations don't stop when we grow up. You might still find yourself doubting your feelings or taking responsibility for others' emotions. To flip the dynamic, you need to recognize their manipulation for what it is and stay grounded in your true feelings, those that come from your authentic self, not from the family's programming. In my Road to Self program, I teach you how to recognize the difference between systems feelings, I also call these false feelings, from your true feelings. The family super self feelings from your true feelings. These videos that I present on YouTube are short, and I can't go into all of the details around these concepts. So please join the Road to Self program. Number 3, stop engaging in power struggles with narcissistic parents. Drop your side of the tug of war rope. And I teach people over and over again to let go of your side of the rope. Because if you stay in a tug of war with them, the arguments, the wanting to change them, the wanting them to understand you, when you stay in that tug of war, it's just more miserable for you, and you don't become more adult-like, you become more childlike. Narcissistic parents thrive on creating conflict to maintain control. They pull you into endless power struggles, making you feel like you have to constantly fight for validation and for respect. Power struggles serve enmeshment or over closeness emotionally. And that's at the basis of what we learned in our family of origin growing up. We were too connected emotionally to our family of origin and did not grow into healthier adults and having a healthier distance emotionally from our family, and particularly a narcissistic parent. As an adult, you might find yourself still caught in these conflicts, trying to prove yourself, trying to gain approval, or correct your narcissistic parent. But the key to flipping the dynamic is to observe without absorbing. See the dysfunction clearly without getting pulled into it or reacting. And we can drop the rope by going, that is them, that's how they think, I don't think that way, and
I'm not going to engage in that because there's no sense. This is the way they see it. And don't think you can talk them out of it. I'm sure you've tried and found that to be rather a frustrating endeavor. Practice calmly stepping out of the emotional chaos they try to draw you into. Number 4, stand firm in your truth with narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parents often invalidated your voice, making you feel like your truth didn't matter. Over time, you were trained to suppress your thoughts and feelings to keep the peace or to avoid their wrath, anger, shaming, discounting. This invalidation follows you into adulthood, making it hard to express your truth without fear of backlash. To flip the power dynamic, you need to practice self-definition, knowing and expressing your thoughts, feelings, and limits without needing your family or others' approval. And we can do that, and we can learn to do that. We can learn to not need their approval or their acceptance or whatever views they have of my own sense of self or what I want or wish or my boundaries. This is how you begin to get the family out of you. You stop letting their emotional Wi-Fi control your internal world. You don't have to argue with them to stand firm in your truth. Make sure you know your thoughts and feelings. And you can know their thoughts and their feelings, which they'll make those very clear to you, which are often distorted, blaming, even delusional. But just make sure you know yours. They can have theirs. You don't have to react or respond. It doesn't matter. So what that they feel that way? Okay, they felt that way for 20 years. Why am I going to be upset about it 20 years later? And they're still that way because they're still that way. They're narcissistic parents. That's how they are. And I want to get to the place where it doesn't matter. Number 5, stop allowing narcissistic parents to define your identity. Narcissistic parents stifled your individuality, demanding that you meet their emotional needs and making your worth contingent on fulfilling their expectations. This left you without a strong sense of true self, as your identity was shaped entirely by their needs. In adulthood, you may still feel disconnected from who you really are, constantly adapting to meet others' expectations. To break free, start the work of self-differentiation. And that self-differentiation is, I am different from you. You're you, and I am me. I don't need to change you, and you don't need to change me. You still may try, but it's not going to have an impact. By recognizing and asserting your identity separate from your family's control, you must learn to stand in who you really are, no longer defined by their version of you. And again, this is the whole means by which I help people get out of the role of being a scapegoat. You may not be able to change their view of you as a scapegoat, but you can change your view of you being a scapegoat. It's their craziness, not the reality that you are truly this role. Number 6, break the cycle of guilt and shame from narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parents use guilt and shame to keep you tied to them, making you feel responsible for their emotions or actions. This emotional glue creates an invisible bond that pulls you back into their dysfunction, even as an adult. These feelings of guilt and shame can persist throughout adulthood, causing you to feel anxious, obligated, or inadequate. To flip the dynamic, you must recognize these feelings as systems feelings, not your true feelings. These are program responses designed to keep you hooked. Your job is to detach emotionally from their guilt and their shame and reclaim your own peace. Number 7, emotionally detach from your narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parents made you emotionally dependent on them. leaving you unable to develop your own sense of self and autonomy. This is how they control. You must be dependent on me, emotionally, mentally, adult-wise, financially, and in many other ways, and needing my approval. All of that adds up to a strong ability to control. They needed you to stay attached to them emotionally, which stunted your ability to grow independently and autonomously. As an adult, you might still feel like you need your family's or others' approval or emotional support to function. To break free, you must practice emotional detachment, creating internal boundaries that allow you to stay grounded and make decisions for yourself, regardless of their influence or who it pleases or who it doesn't please. External boundaries is, I'm not coming to visit you every week. Internal boundary is, if you think I'm crazy, it doesn't matter to me. That's an internal boundary. It doesn't go in. I have a boundary emotionally. And that takes more discussion, more work. And that's why I do a lot more discussion of internal boundaries in the Road to Self program, which I hope you will sign up for. A good book for men might be the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. And for women, Growing Yourself Up by Jenny Brown. And I always like books by Harriet Lerner. She's a great author, using family systems and kind of talking about us being enmeshed in families. Number 8, learn to set healthy boundaries with narcissistic parents. You may ask, well, how on earth do I set healthy boundaries with a narcissistic parent? Do you know how many times I've gotten that question and people have asked me? And I certainly understand the difficulty, but what they're confusing, I think, is if I'm setting a boundary, it is changing them. A boundary is not set to change them. I hope they honor it, but it's not a boundary to change them. A boundary is there to protect and care about me. Narcissistic parents have no respect for boundaries, making you feel guilty for even having them. They invade your emotional and physical space, leaving you feeling drained, violated, and unseen. Well, I told you not to buy that dress for your wedding. I told you not to marry them, and you went ahead and married them anyway. That's very inappropriate. Those are boundary breaking comments. Setting a boundary with a narcissistic parent does not mean they take it well. They won't, and they will resist. They will try to get you to remove the boundary or just plain ignore it. Setting boundaries includes what I do when they do what they do. See them less, call them less, ignore them, state if they change, you will respond in a more positive way, but leave it up to them to change or be who they are. For example, if I don't want to talk about my spouse with a narcissistic parent, then I might say, well, Mom, if you bring this up, I will stay quiet or I'll leave. I've said several times I don't wish to talk about my husband with you, warning them if we're going to discuss this on the phone, when I said this topic was out of bounds, then I'm afraid I will have to hang up. So again, it's setting a boundary has to do with what I'm going to do with what they're going to do with my boundary. I'm not trying to change them, though I might like them to honor my boundary. There's nothing wrong with that. But they may not. And I always like to go into it with they probably won't honor my boundary. So I might as well start thinking of what I'm going to be doing when they don't honor my boundary, because they will test you and they will hope you will go back to the same old way. As an adult, you may find it hard to set boundaries, always feeling guilty or afraid to say no. To flip the dynamic, you need to set clear, non-negotiable boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. This is your right, not a privilege, and it's necessary for your healing. Number 9, stop taking responsibility for narcissistic parents' actions. Narcissistic parents often make you feel responsible for their actions, their emotions, their thoughts, their failures. You were taught that it was your job to fix their problems or make them happy, leaving you with a heavy emotional burden. And I think about the holidays. And I'm more familiar with the Christian holidays, but they're holidays of many different groups. And in the, say Christmas holiday or Thanksgiving even, which is a secular holiday in most places, that when you say, I'm not able to be there because I need to do something with my family, then you're now responsible for their unhappiness. No, you're not responsible for their unhappiness. Some parents would say, oh, I'm really disappointed you're not going to be there. I really would love to have you there. But I understand you have a right to make that choice. There are parents who do that. Rather than, oh, now you're hurting me and I feel so awful. Why would you betray the family? Everybody's going to be there. You have to be there for us to have a good Thanksgiving, or it won't even be Thanksgiving. Well, that's all shaming talk and guilting talk, and it's talk that's trying to get you to behave in a way so I don't have to deal with my immaturity as a narcissistic parent. I don't have to deal with that if I can get you to change. As an adult, this pattern can continue, causing you to take on guilt or blame for their issues. To break free, you must stop taking responsibility for their actions, their feelings. Their behavior is theirs to own, not yours. Number 10, limit narcissistic parents' access to your life. Narcissistic parents taught you early on that your life was an open book to them. Remember, they changed your diapers. So therefore, they should get to know what your raise is when you're 45 years old from your work and what raise you got because they changed your diaper when you were an infant. I mean, I'm sure many of you have had that happen before. Or, why change your diaper? What do you mean? I'm your mother. I'm your father. I should ask these questions. No, you're being nibby and don't have a good sense of self between yourself and myself. They expected you to meet their emotional needs at the expense of your own boundaries, leaving you feeling constantly exposed and dependent on their approval. As an adult, you may still feel like you have to share every detail of your life with them, even if it means sacrificing your privacy and independence. Many people talk about this as that we are the supply for the narcissistic parent. We are their supply for the narcissist. And that supply is everything about our lives, all of our emotions. They can control us, and that's their supply. The key to flipping the power dynamic is setting external boundaries, the outer expressions of knowing who you are and what you need without guilt. I don't want to talk about what my raise is if I'm 45 years old and just got a promotion at work. I don't think anybody needs to know that. But my spouse, my partner, people who need to know, the IRS, taxes, I have to share with some people. But what is the point of sharing that with mom and dad? What are they going to do with that? I fear the narcissistic parent may want to gossip about it, or they may want to use it against you at some time in the future. Oh, well, you're making $185,000 now. So blah, 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 blah. Well, you weren't telling them that to get that kind of manipulation. To truly reclaim your power, you must stop playing by their rules, overvaluing their distorted thoughts and feelings, and giving them the power to make you feel bad. Every action you take to detach emotionally, set boundaries, and prioritize your needs is a step towards flipping the power dynamic. Remember, your parents don't have to keep defining you through their control and dysfunction. You can flip the power dynamic by finally becoming who you truly are and staying grounded in the work of your self-differentiation. And again, I talk a lot more about self-differentiation, how you accomplish that, what are the steps in doing that in the program, Your Road to Self. And if you're finally ready to break free and start living with clarity and peace and grounded connection to your true self, then join that program, the Road to Self program. Many who have joined the program say it was the missing piece in their healing journey, the step that finally helped them get their family out of them and stand strong as their true self. There are many testimonials for the program. No testimonial was solicited other than, if you'd like to give a testimony, You write it however you want to write it. All the testimonials were unsolicited. They're real. There are no fake ones on there. I will not allow that. If you're not sure if Road to Self is for you, then start with the free 84-minute self-differentiation training. Over 30,000 people have joined the free training as their first step. Click the links in the description to get started. And be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so that you'll never miss a new video coming out. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and be wise. Hey, hello everybody. I know there's going to be some people joining us. There'll be a few more, or probably will be joining us. This particular live stream has two purposes, maybe even three. One purpose is I want to thank all of my supporters and subscribers to my channel. And number two, I'd like to answer some questions for you. I wanted to spend some time doing that, so that that might be of help to you and people can ask their own questions. And number three, I might also want to be talking about the online program and talking about its purpose, meaning, and why it could be very important for you. So the first thing I would like to do is I recently got something in the mail from YouTube. And maybe you have heard of those things they send out when there are certain milestones that are reached in terms of subscribers and number of subscribers. And it was wonderful to get their box in the mail. And in the box was a letter that read from YouTube and read, "Do you remember your first subscriber, your 100th, or your 1,000th subscriber? Chances are you do. And we know that you'll definitely remember your 100th subscriber. Your fans may have found you while searching YouTube, learned about you through a friend, or maybe you showed up as a recommended video. No matter how they came to your channel, your audience stayed and their numbers increased because of you and the community you built. We're proud to honor your impressive milestone of reaching 100,000 subscribers with the Silver Creator Award. Congratulations. We know that you have many more stories to share with your community, and we know your fans can't wait for you to amaze them even more with your commitment and creativity. So keep creating, keep building. We can't wait to see what you'll do next, and we're here to support you along the way. And who knows, when you reach your 1,000,000th subscriber, we may just write to you and ask, do you remember your 100th subscriber? Sincerely yours, Neil Mohan, YouTube CEO. Very nice letter and very affirming. And this had come in the mail, and if I open it up, it looks like this. I was trying to get it out of the light so you might be able to see it. This is the Silver Creator plaque for 100,000 subscribers. And I'm trying to think if I can get it out of the... And so I'll be putting that up in my office. I'm so thrilled, and I want to thank all of you for being supportive of me. And I remember in starting the channel many years ago, and the director
of the counseling center that I was working at. He and I went back all the way to 1976. And he had strongly recommended that I post videos. Well, I was hesitant, of course, and there were two hesitations. Number one, I don't look like Brad Pitt. That was one hesitation. I thought, how are they going to look at this old guy and want to watch his videos? Number two, I thought the information I was going to share was going to be something nobody really was going to care about. It was going to be kind of a road less traveled. I mean, only if you want to do a certain type of work and kind of dig into your own past family history and also build a new solid self. Well, that's not what everybody out there is looking for. Many people are looking for a quick fix. Here's 3 easy steps and you'll be healed or recover. And most people are looking for something rather quick. And this approach is slower, but I think more reliable, and less reversible. In other words, we don't go through the same problem again and again and do the recycling. If you work a program of self-differentiation, you really do make progress and don't go back. Now, why do I say that? How can I say that? Because of my own work and my own process of working on my own recovery and using a family systems approach to healing and recovery. And so I noticed what it was about, and I thought, well, if that's really true, then that should be my experience. And it was, and it became my experience. But again, I didn't think, I don't know how many people are going to be interested in that. Because it does take some work, effort, looking into yourself. And again, there's just a lot of people who, because of their own paradigm and, whether a malignant regime, an unhealthy super self of the family, whatever they grew up in and became theirs from their family of origin, would keep them from wanting to go this direction, because it's anti what they had growing up and what seems so normal. When the terrible becomes normal, and so that normalcy, we don't look much beyond that because that's our paradigm. So it takes a little work to kind of work out of that paradigm. And I do want to mention that I have a program that I've been working on for 45 years, which shares tools, exercises, step by step for many aspects of the program. It also helps you understand why that's important, and in even understanding the why, it begins to change our old paradigm. And so I think it's very important that I put together this program that I've been, working on for a long time. And while it's not a perfect program, and we've been adding to it, and I'm going to continue to add to it, so that people can continue to do their work for many years to come, and also be reminded. I also believe another thing that's important is the more you immerse yourself in it, the more you change. And that was my experience from my own learning about family systems and learning about the things that I teach. The more I went over them and over them and over them, it began to break up that old dysfunctional belief system, the old dysfunctional emotional system, because we're a part of that old emotional system, and also begins to deal with the very older part of my brain, that reactive part of my brain. And if we can do some work to help control that reactive part of our brain, we really can make changes in our life, because we're changing the unconscious. So speaking about the program, there are several people who have written testimonials.
I will never put on a fake testimonial. I don't use fake testimonials. I wouldn't want that if I were looking at a program. So these are all real people who have shared their testimony without me calling them and saying, "Hey, please do this." They shared these things about the program, and I wanted to share them with you. Um, Diane mentions in her testimonial, I've done many programs in my life, and 4 in the past year alone. This has been the most powerful program I've done so far. I've been following Jerry's videos for a while, but I was skeptical what additional value I would get in the program. The progress I experienced in my healing from being the family scapegoat by implementing the tools and videos was beyond my expectations. And that's according to Diane. And she just sends us that. And we're very grateful. Um, then there are others that say, I wish I had access to this program earlier in my life. Um, in the ad for the program, Jerry stated that by joining, I would save myself a lot of money on therapy. He was so right. I have trained therapists for many, many years. I know what therapists know. I also went through a very rigorous training when I was doing marriage and family therapy with AAMFT, which is a very stringent and difficult training because you really have to deal with your own issues to help other people with theirs. And so I know what's going on out there in the therapy world. And I know this program, I have not found it offered anywhere. I think there are some therapists who share same beliefs and values that I have, but it's going to be a smaller number. And so I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way. It's just not a common way, but I think it's one of the most powerful ways to think about our problems, dysfunction, trauma from a family systems perspective, and heal in a family systems perspective. So the program is there for you. We have, you can go there, you can make payments. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to join it and to be a part of the program. There are 6 modules. There's a lot in those. There's exercises, tools. Check it out. I don't think I do not think you will be disappointed. We are going to have it. The link is going to be up here in the chat. It's going to be in the description so that you could take a look at the program, go to the page and check it out. You can also check out the other testimonials that are on the page, not solicited, just given. And again, they are real people. I have these people and their information. So this is, there's nothing inauthentic about them. But the reason why I know they're not inauthentic, because in the last many decades, these are the kinds of comments that I have been getting from my clients, from my workshops, and it's a similar type of perspective. And again, I would have said the same thing when I began to do my work of recovery. And I was very much thought, and I had a professor who was talking in this way, the way I talk. And I'm going, I'm not sure I fully understand what he's saying, but I know he's right. But I don't know that's not the way I think. You know why it wasn't the way I thought? Because I have my old family of origin paradigm that's thinking for me and feeling for me and doing all that, which is why I'm hearing this stuff and going, I just think he's really right about what he's saying, but where did he learn this? How did he understand this? And so I was pretty amazed, and then went and talked with him, and he became my advisor, and he was a wonderful advisor and professor. And I also want to thank the director that I had many years ago encouraged me to start doing videos. And I really had to, I have my own insecurities. And I thought, well, who's going to watch it? Who are people they're going to look at this and go, well, that's too hard. I don't want to do that. Just give me A, B, and C, and then we'll move on. And he would encourage me and say, no, Jerry, I think it's more important than that. And I really think you should do those videos. And Mark Smith was his name, and he has since passed away. And but I am grateful for his encouragement to get my own channel started, so that people could have that option and opportunity. And you have that option and opportunity as well. So I think I've kind of covered the 100,000 subscriber celebration I wanted to have today. I should have brought some fireworks or something. It was such an exciting time. I think we're now up to 108,000 or something like that. And it continues to grow. I think this message is very important. And I have many people saying, I wish they taught this in schools. I wish they taught what you taught. So somebody contacted me from the UN and said, I wish you would come and talk here. And again, it's not so much I'm a genius. It's that the theory itself is really healing, affirming. It is biologically natural. It's the way the universe works. And I think when you're aligned with the universe, it tends to be pretty solid. And so that's why many times they call it natural family systems, because it's true everywhere. And I think we use those kind of concepts to help us recover. And that's what I do. So now I was going to ask you if you wanted to ask a question that you could write in capital letters question, and then write a question, and maybe I can be of help and offer that to you, and would be happy to do that if you'd like to do that. It's been a real exciting time. Also putting your own self out there in front of the world, because there are people that watch this I had clients in Russia, I had clients in Saudi Arabia, I have clients all over the world, that when you put that out there, that, gosh, you're talking about a lot of people. And also, not everybody's nice. So you have to kind of be able to brave the trolling and the craziness that goes on there. Nobody likes to, everybody's gonna, complain about, well, I don't like the color of your shirt. It's like, okay. And so you get a little more thicker skin and begin to realize people just have their own issues. And if I learned anything from the 12-step program, take what you can use and leave the rest. And that's what I tell people often. Take what you can use and leave the rest. If you don't like that part of what I said, take the other part and use it. That's fine. But many times people will, if you'll say something and they disagree with it, they will just cancel everything out. Well, why? There might be some useful things that might be useful for you. Just disregard that. I do that with other people and other YouTube videos I watch. I may go, oh, well, I don't believe that. But, this is a really good point. So we take what we can use and leave the rest. And that's what we plan on doing. So again, you're free to ask any questions if you have any. I was trying to think of the, getting back to the program. Also, I think about the, how I really, it is, I just believe that if people don't take advantage of the program, I really think they're going to lose out on some of their life. Now, does that mean this is the only program that's of any value in the world? No, of course it's not. It is a program that I think that is important and I believe can save you a lot of trouble, a lot of problems, and show you things that you may not be aware of. And the more we can be aware of, the less problems we can be dealing with and encountering. So I want to help with that self-awareness, family awareness, systems awareness, relationship awareness. If we see things clearly and non-reactively, and if we can learn to become more calm and thoughtful, there's not much you can't do. And you guys don't know me from 40 years ago. I don't think there's anybody here that knows me 40 years ago. Oh my gosh. I was going in circles and recycling all the time and just and if you'd have asked me, and I think I've said this many times, if you would have asked me, Jerry, do you think back then you could ever say you would feel like you feel now? And I would say, absolutely not. I would have said, you've lost your mind. There's no way I could ever feel that way. And now I have an opportunity to kind of feel normal, whatever that is, but at least normal. And so, and I think it does have some normal because the program and self differentiation is a way of discovering normal emotional process, mental process, relationship processes so that you do know what normal is and you can discover your own sense of self. Well, how do you explain yourself when asked by a narcissist family as to why you are done? Um, you mean why you want to go no contact, or why you're just I'm just done? Well, first of all, we want to work on, do we have to explain ourselves? And that's one of the first things that I will talk to folks about. Why are you explaining yourself? I just need to inform you that I am done. Well, what do you mean? How do you mean you're not? Why do you what do you mean you're done? I think you understand English. You know what I said. I'm just done. And I believe any further discussion on that will only start an argument or a conflict. I'm just declaring self, which is what we're doing, declaring self, because as being self differentiated, we will want to declare self at times. And declare self doesn't mean necessarily confront, it doesn't mean being reactive. It means I need to tell you in a calm, casual, cordial way, I am done. And or I'm going no contact, or I just go no contact. And then when they say, why aren't you coming around? Why aren't you seeing us? I believe I am done. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good life. I believe I am done. And well, you need to explain yourself. No, I don't think there's anywhere in the Constitution that says, or any political document that says, I have to explain myself, except maybe to a judge, but that's only if I break the law. Other than that, well, even as a defendant, you don't have to take the stand. So you don't have to defend yourself. I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to, because if they don't know it now, you giving them the reasons is not going to clear it up for them. I know we always want to kind of explain, or we feel we owe them an explanation. The problem is, if they don't already understand why you're doing it, what's your explanation going to do? I just don't think it's going to do much to change anything. Because if someone treats me badly and I go, well, do you know you really treated me badly the other day? If I got to explain that they treated me badly, then they weren't even aware of it, aren't we already in a bad place? I have another question. I would like to understand the concept of how narcissism makes people physically, chronically ill with low grade issues that nag our body. And that's pink posed. Um, there are things that are working in a narcissistic family, or actually in all families, in which we are connected. We are connected to the emotional process of the family that goes back generations. And that emotional process, mental process, and the relationship process of the family encompasses almost everything of us, including our mind, our amygdala, our cells, our DNA, our and and so when a family is dysfunctional or toxic, unhealthy, mean, narcissistic, abusive, and many other ways, that takes a toll on our whole body, not just our mind, not just our emotions. But of course, emotions are very closely tied to the body. And in fact, when I remember working with in the psychiatric practice, the psychiatrist would have me ask them, "Hey, if he thought there was some brain damage or born with a little seizures or some kind of misfire, he would also ask him if they have any skin problems." And I'm going, well, why am I asking them if they have any skin problems? We're trying to find out if they, because the same layer that develops in the baby inside the mother, the same layer includes the brain and the skin. And so they're so connected. And so you can have rashes. If you have rashes, if you have this or that, it can have a lot to do with our brain. And so just like physical problems come up as a result of the stress, um, and the way the family operates, and what I've found many times, people have become healthier by gaining a greater sense of detachment, changing their emotional location in the family, becoming more detached, becoming more self-differentiated, staying more calm, not giving into their reactivity. And it's amazing how the body begins to react to those positive dynamics. And so we begin to get healthier because we're putting our body in a healthier environment and a healthier way. I hope that's a help to you, Pink. How can someone give up hope of in hopeless situations regarding narcissistic parents? How can or how can how can you give up hope in a hopeless situation? I think is what you might be asking, and particularly with narcissistic parents. Um, the one of the things that I would say is that there are reasons why we don't want to give up that hope. There can be a lot of reasons. I mean, they're your parents, they're your mother, they're your father, they're your family, they're your only family that you have. Who wants to give up hope on a family being healthy or happy or loving or giving or, who wants to give that up? And so that's kind of the normal, natural thing that goes on. Who wants to give up their family? But if a family is narcissistic or parents are narcissistic, it becomes much more difficult to hold on to that dream. But we will hold on to it because we want to share a reality with our family and our parents. We have an innate desire to share that reality together because we were born here. This is our family. And so that's a very strong force. And then we also have the downsides if we give up our hope for our narcissistic parents. What would be the downsides of giving up hope if you just keep hoping that they'll change, hoping they'll be different? If I gave that up, what would be the downsides? Now, the upsides I may feel better. I may be more detached. I may accept reality. Hey, I'll go focus all that energy on my own life. The downsides are, or could be, your downsides might be a little different than others. The downsides could be if I give up hope that they'll change, I will realize we don't have any relationship at all. And actually, maybe we never did. That's pretty scary. So we then will keep our hope alive. Number two, a downside, again, could mean, well, if I give up hope that they would be loving parents or caring parents, then who would do that for me? Because we haven't learned to do it for ourselves. So we're still waiting for them to do it, to be our loving parents. And we don't realize we're adults now. We now become our own loving parents. We reparent ourselves. And so those are some ideas. And if you have a hard time, and it's okay if you accept yourself, if you're having a hard time giving up that hope, just say and keep saying, I am not yet ready to give up that hope. And love and accept yourself for where you are. Because once you become connected more to yourself, that hope may just fall away because you've accepted the fact, hey, I'm not ready to give up that hope. Okay. But at least you're not saying, I want to give up the hope, but I can't. I want to give up the hope that I can't, but I can't. That's neurosis. That's neurotic. If I say, I do want to give up the hope, but I am not ready, that's sane. That's healthy. And then you will when you're ready. And I would keep affirming the fact that I'm not ready because then it'll help our brain think about, oh, well, why am I not ready? And it'll get you thinking in some other ways. Thank you, Adriana. Godzilla Man. How do you handle family members who love the narcissist, not knowing of the hidden abuse for decades towards me? Well, that's a great question. And that can be very difficult. Certainly a very difficult dynamic to have when they have used the narcissistic regime and the malignant normalcy and the narcissistic normalcy of the trance on other people who just see them as, you know, they don't know anything about these things. And what the stance that I take emotionally, mentally, physically, the stance I take at that point is because I know, for example, my own mother in her situation, everybody thought she was a saint. There were some things she did well and did good, but not everything she did was a saint, and not always how she treated me was a saint. And so, what do I do when they all think, "Oh my gosh, you must be so lucky, Jerry, to have had your mom." And in some ways I was, and in other ways I wasn't. And so, what stance do I take at that point with them? And what I like to think about is a self-differentiating stance, being myself while staying connected. And so when they say, you know, I don't know why you are so standoffish with your parents, or you know, or the abuse in your family or whatever. I don't know. No, they wouldn't say that. Why are you so standoffish or why you distance yourself? And again, I would say, I'm sure you probably don't know why. If you'd ever like to know, you can let me know. And And again, they can ask you if they want to ask you. Or you seem to have gotten upset with your dad the other day, and he always seems to be supporting you and caring about you. He always tells me what he does for you and all that. Of course, he doesn't tell the abuse, he doesn't tell all the other things that went on for decades. And you can say, yes, I was upset with dad. It has been a long story and a long history that I don't think you have been party to. And so, or you may not see it the way I see it. And that's okay. They don't have to see it the way I see it, but I have a right to see it the way I see it. And that they can question me about it, but I'm just going to tell them, you may believe about my family or my parents any way you want to believe, but you may do it at your own peril because I'm not sure you have gotten the whole story. And that's okay. You don't have to get the whole story if you don't want to. But I have a part of the story that I think a lot of people don't have. And I have my own perspective on that. And again, I'm not sure, Godzilla Man, how um they love the narcissist. Oh yeah, they would come to you and say, "Oh, your father he's such a wonderful man. I just can't believe blah, 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 blah." And I would go, there may be parts of him that are lovable. There are other parts not so much. And again, I'm declaring self while not getting involved in the emotional process of that with them, because I don't want to get into a battle or reactivity. I just want to self declare or claim my reality in a non reactive way. They're free to believe about the narcissist anything they want. They can love the narcissist. They can say the narcissist or what. They can do all that. I don't have to do that, nor do I have to keep them from doing it. And that I have my own perspective and I hold on to that, nail my foot to the floor. So as they try to take me around in circles, my foot's still nailed to the floor. That, yes, there have been some good things. There have been many not so good things. And I might share with them that. Well, I hope that has been a help to you. I'm starting to wear down, but I wanted to answer some questions, and that you're free to write my email address if you'd like. I really think if you want to know how to think like me, believe it or not, and sometimes it might be good for you to think like me. Other ways there may not be. You may not want to think like me. But if you want to think the way I think and giving these responses, knowing how to respond in that way, thinking on your feet, making it something you can do right at the time, join the program and it will help you to reach that goal. And I really do encourage you to do that. It will not be a waste of time. It will not be a waste of time. And for many people, they have said, "Oh my gosh, I wish I'd known this 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Why didn't somebody teach this?" Well, believe it or not, there are a lot of therapists who don't even want to learn this because they have to deal with their own issues to do it. Well, who wants to deal with their own issues? I just want to be a therapist who's has power over people and give them advice. I mean, and I was a young therapist many years ago once, and I know how it feels. It can be a little intoxicating. And then I go, but that's not really what I'm here for. And maybe I should work on my issues so that I can really help them with theirs. Hey guys, thank you so much for all of your support. I'm going to get a chance to read through the chat here and um, and see some of the comments that you've made. I want to thank you again. I hope you will like this video. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will subscribe to the channel. And then please join the program. I really think you will not regret that one day. Well, thanks for joining me. Have a great day and be wise.